Hi, greetings in Jesus' name. I wanted to make an update video. It's probably been about a month since I've done one. I actually seen the dietitian today, so it's even more on my mind. The month's actually been very hard, not for typical reasons, but because I've been pretty sick. I've had about 3 weeks of a lot of tummy pain, and one day I actually ended up in the ER. It got so bad, and at first they said it was ovarian cysts, which I do have, but then when I went to the doctor for that, he said he didn't feel that was the cause of the pain, and by that time some more tests that they had done in the emergency room had come back, and he said diverticulitis or diverticulosis was a possibility. And then I went to my family doctor the next day, and he said that he thought it was more of a colitis. So, but in any event, I feel like all kinds of diagnoses there, but all I know is I was hurting, and I have felt terrible, falling behind on so many household chores, on emails, you name it. And certainly I haven't worked out. I hate to admit that, but I just haven't felt well. So my parents even came and got me for a week to help with my little one in there, because he's pretty tough to keep up with when you don't feel too good. So, but I am on the mend. I'm on antibiotics, and my one doctor's got me on some hormone pills too. So nothing I really wanted to take, but something I had to take. But all these things are really wreaking havoc with me. I'd say overall my weight's probably about the same as when I last checked in. My dietitian's I lost 3 pounds, but I think on the scale here it looks to me about the same. But I really wouldn't have expected to do too well with all the sickness. But I'm not giving up, and I haven't given up. Don't have any intention of giving up. With things being on the mend finally, it seems. My hope is in the next 2 or 3 days, I'm hoping my energy will come back enough to be able to work out. I also have a weird little thing going on with my foot, but it's going to be hard to do walking, but I don't think it, overall I can use my bike if anything. So, but in general, I'm hoping in the next couple of days to have enough energy to do that. The dietitian, she is really concerned on the calorie counting, that my time would be more fruitful if, instead of monitoring calories so closely, if I monitored carbs instead, because of diabetes. I've been very resistant to that for a long time, because I've always considered low carbing kind of to be more fad dieting, but with researching it more and more, and listening to her explanation that when you're diabetic, you tend to process things differently, and if something's higher in carbs, you're more likely to store it as fat easier, rather than, keeping it low carb, that basically the weight loss efforts would be a lot better if I tried to limit the carbs. And she had suggested, I don't have the number in front of me, I think it was 50 to 60, like a meal, but that's still pretty high, I think, compared to what some people who low carb do. I know they'll try to keep it under 20 a day. I'm really not sure of the specifics, but I am considering changing the tactic, just because it did feel like things were going slow. And it's not that I'm really worried about the time overall, but I do want my body to respond. My efforts, of course, I want it to be an encouragement, to actually lose the weight, obviously, but when it goes slow, it's not encouraging. So I don't know, but I am considering that. I haven't 100% decided, but I'm really leaning toward taking her advice and monitoring it. Now, she definitely is not advocating like sitting down and having 4 steaks for dinner or anything. She says always keep an eye on your calories too. And she had told me back when I started that if I was insistent on going the calorie route, that I probably need to be around 1,600 because of my weight and the expenditure I have every day of calories, especially if I'm exercising every day, rather than the 1,200 I initially had set out to do. But well, 12 to 15 was my goal. But I'm thinking about really watching the carbs instead. I don't know. Obviously, I still have to watch the calories too, but she said you don't necessarily have to journal and keep track of all the calorie numbers. Just keep a rough eye on it, but it's important to journal the food and keep track of it. But the overall, the number to keep track of is just keep track of the carbs. So I don't know. I'm really thinking about that. Benefit is I dearly love cheese. So I'm not going to have a little more cheese on that than I can low calories. So I don't know. I'm thinking about it. But if anybody has any advice or experience with doing the low carb, I tried it years ago very briefly. And I think that's what kind of poisoned me to the idea, is I hated it when I tried it. And I lasted like 3 to 4 days. This was, oh my gosh, back when I was first diagnosed polycystic, I was probably around 2002, 2003. But I hated it when I tried it, so I don't know. I'm kind of cautious with leaving what was working for me. The calorie counts were working, it was just working slowly. But in any event, I'm thinking about trying it, so if anybody has advice or insight to offer, I'll happily read over it and appreciate hearing your experiences with it. Please continue praying for me, especially with all the sickness and stuff I've had. It was not my ideal plan by any means to end up getting sick, but something caused it. I really don't know what. The doctors are still have some tests that are still pending to see what the cause was, if it was something like E. coli or something in my food, or if it was just some freak occurrence that caused, my bowels to get infected. So, but there was some sort of infection. My white blood cells count and stuff were actually elevated, so there definitely was infection going on, which has probably explained why I felt so drained and so tired. They actually had me withdraw my metformin for a few days because of having CAT scan and the stuff they inject in your veins. Something about not overwhelming your kidneys by taking that and the metformin and having that going through your tubes. So having to withdraw off of that plus having to get back on it was a pretty big hurdle. And if anybody's ever taken metformin, you know what it does to you. It makes you visit the little girl's room very frequently in the first few days, which when I was already having such problems was not something I wanted to add back in. But it's been very hard on my body between being sick and then the medicines to help you get better. So, but there's your update. So please, send me messages. Forgive me for people who have sent things and I've not replied to yet. I've read them all. I have just not sat down to formulate thoughtful replies yet, and it's not been the least bit intentional to delay anybody, but I do intend to get out there and do my replies. Just haven't done it yet, and I am sorry. But beyond that, please feel free to email me, comments, whatever, and your prayers are definitely appreciated. Have a very blessed day.